Hey everybody, it's GobletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we'll be playing another Premier Draft of Phyrexia, All Will Be One, with one common out of each pack replaced with an Alchemy card, like Norn's Fetchling here. Without further ado, let's just get into the pack one, pick one, which is going to be our Bomb Mythic Rare, Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, the Mom of the format, the 5-mana 4/7 Vigilance that doubles up your enter the battlefield effects and counters your opponents. A 5-mana 4/7 Vigilance with no other text is already a ridiculously large creature in Limited. And these abilities do play pretty well in the format. A lot of good enter the battlefield effects. So we will scoop up Elesh Norn and be pretty happy to start with her. Pack 1, pick 2, the Alchemy card is gone out of this pack. There's not that much else, honestly. The only removal in the pack is a 5-mana sorcery speed removal spell, which is not that great. There's a Cultivator for a green ramp dork, Furnace Strider for the top end of a red deck. Probably just take Porcelain Zealot here, which is pretty good for white-based Toxic decks. It's kind of a narrow card, but it's just the strongest card here. Really, really weak pack overall. Alright, pack 1, pick 3, another completely useless rare. It's the exact same completely useless rare we saw last pack. Another super weak pack. This is not a draft pod with very high card quality so far. I suppose Indoctrination's Enter the Battlefield effect can get doubled up with Elesh Norn. It's also a toxic creature to go with our Porcelain Zealot, and there's not much competing with it. There's an Oil Gorger Troll if we go into like green, red, or green, blue, but this is kind of like a secret multicolored common. It's not really just green. And there's Malcator's Watcher or Raptor in blue, which are just fine. Rather just stick to our color for now. See what we get. Pick 4. Alright, now we've got a really nice cheap toxic creature, the Jawbone Duelist for a 2-mana 1/1 double strike toxic 1. Pretty good with the Porcelain Zealot and just toxic aggro in general with Indoctrination Attendant, so I'm a little interested in taking that. Malira's an okay rare, but she's not really a reason to push towards green-white. She's just like if you're in green-white, she's good. Mainly a 2-mana 3/3. I'll just take the Jawbone Duelist here. Alright, pack 1, pick 5 is where the white is starting to dry up. There's only a Charge of the Mites here. This is okay for a very dedicated toxic deck. Not really useful anywhere else. I guess there's not too much competing. There's Serum Core Chimera for blue-red. That's pretty far off from what we're doing right now. We're going to have to be just white and picking a secondary color. I don't think any of these cards are good enough to take a secondary color still. It's like Testament Bearer's solid. Tezzeret's Reckoning's a solid draw spell. That's pretty much it. Everything else doesn't do a whole lot, so I'll just take the Charge of the Mites here. Pack 1, pick 6. Alright, that's a really late Canker Bloom. That's the best card in the pack. A 2-mana 3/2 that also gives you main deck artifact and enchantment removal. It's pretty great. It's a premium 2-drop, and you're supposed to take those pretty highly in this format with how aggressive it is, so I'll take the Canker Bloom here. Maybe try to go green-white toxic. Well, pick 7 Cephalopod Sentry. Pretty good sign for blue-white artifacts, actually. So we'll take that, and we can go either way, green-white or blue-white. A lot of our white cards are pretty narrow, like just for the toxic strategy, but it's early enough in the draft that if we see something like a Cephalopod Sentry pick 7, we can just start scooping up good artifact cards from here on out. Yeah, there we go, Eye of Malcator. Pick 8. There's also Barbed Batterfist. Elesh Norn does synergize really well with 4 Mirrodin Equipment, where they enter the battlefield with a 2/2 Rebel. But again, I mean, most games, the play pattern is going to be playing Batterfist on 2, then Norn on 5, where it doesn't really matter. But I guess with Indoctrination Attendant, we pick up the Batterfist and then recast it, get 2 Rebels. I feel like this pick 7 Cephalopod Sentry, though, I'm going to try to push to the blue-white artifact aggro and take the Eye of Malcator. These are pretty filler green cards. Troll's good, but not for green-white. These are both much more for the green oil decks. I don't love the Meldweb Strider at the top end of the curve. I far prefer like Mirren Bardiche at 5 mana, and we can't have too many 5-drops. We already have one of them. Speculate on the red card. Chrome Prowler is very nice for the blue-white artifact aggro deck. Very good tempo play where you lock down one of their attackers, and that also can't block on the next turn, then you slam them. It's also a way to give the Eye of Malcator its 4/4 body during your opponent's turn, which is nice. I probably should not take a mere Kinsmith here, but I'm going to. Reject Imperfection. Tezzeret's Reckoning, actually a solid draw spell. We'll play that in blue-white. And a last pick, Eye of Malcator. Alright, blue-white artifact aggro is 100% open here. It is a place we can absolutely be. Unfortunately, we didn't really open anything for the archetype, so we just take the Seachrome Coast. Played in Onslaught's okay, but you need to have a really wide board state, and a lot of times in this kind of deck, you're just hitting with a couple really big 4/4s rather than a super wide board. So if we really want this card, we'll just wheel it. I'm just going to take the dual land, honestly. Right, like Charge of the Mites and Plated Onslaught should both wheel, and we only really want one of those. There is a sort of on-color Alchemy rare, but it doesn't work in draft. You need to have a lot of cards that can Seek, which is an Alchemy exclusive mechanic. We have 0 Seek cards right now, and it's very unlikely we get any. Or at least enough to use the card well. Alright, we got an Eye of Malcator literally last pack, so I should be able to take just the premium 2-drop creature, take the Bladed Ambassador here. Not an artifact, but I think it's enough more powerful than the Experiment to take the less synergistic card. Because it gets that oil token, it can give itself indestructible once, trade off into a card without dying. Alright, now I'll take a Surgical Skull Bomb, very nice for the archetype. Crawling Chorus is actually fine in this archetype because it dies, replaces itself with an artifact creature. Probably better than a second Skull Bomb by a tiny bit. Charged Mites is okay. Shepherd's okay. Turn 4 Cephalopod Sentry, turn 5 Shepherd is pretty huge. We do want some 1/2 mana plays, ideally. Don't have a lot of those. I'm going to take the Crawling Chorus here, see if we can wheel one of the Basilica Shepherds. Chrome Prowler versus Mirren Bardiche. Love the Bardiche at 5 mana for this kind of deck, but I really, really like the Chrome Prowler in the middle as well. Again, we're currently trying to wheel other 5-drops like Basilica Shepherd, and again, I think I'm only going to play 3, maybe 4. So we'll probably have Elesh Norn, 1 Bardiche, 1 Basilica Shepherd is how the deck will end up. Definitely take Planar Disruption here. We are low on removal. We actually have pretty much none, so we'll take that. Excellent removal spell. I guess I have 1 Charge of the Mites, which kind of works, but not well. Alright, Crawling Chorus is better than the other cards for this archetype. Again, it's not great, but it's fine. The other thing that's nice about the Chorus is it does help us potentially corrupt our opponent. There is a 2-mana 1/3 flying artifact creature that we would run just because it's a 1/3 flying artifact creature, but if you corrupt your opponent with it, you can also buff your whole board every time it attacks, give the whole board +1/+1. So we're kind of okay with, like, when there's not good artifact aggro cards, just taking random toxic stuff to make it possible to corrupt our opponent. Because it's possible we're going to have a tiny bit of cards that care about corruption by the end of this draft. Corruption, of course, being if we can get 3 poison counters onto our opponent, then all of our corrupted cards are better. Deck looks pretty good here. Not a lot of removal, just 1 Disruption, 1 Charge of the Mites, Skull Bomb for tempo. The curve's not horrible, definitely need more 2s, but the card quality looks pretty high. Just blue-white artifact aggro. Alright, yeah, wheel the Eye of Malcator. Just play a full play set of Eye of Malcator. I love how these can, like, can just keep digging for the next copy, which is really, really busted on the play. Don't love passing up on another 2-drop for it, but I'm going to. Alright, Glistener Seer is perfectly playable. Helps us scry into one of our few removal spells when we need them. Or find one of our bombs like Cephalopod Sentry or Eleshnorn. Take another Skull Bomb here. We didn't wheel any of the white 5 drops. That's kind of an issue. Guess I will have to take them a little highly next pack. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. There's nothing good for blue-white artifacts here, so I think we just take the solid toxic combat trick. We have quite a few toxic creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 toxic creatures. It's a very filler combat trick when you use it on a non-toxic creature, but sometimes it's worth it to just try to win the fight. When you use it on a toxic creature, it's absolutely absurd. So I'm going to take the Complete Devotion here. Alright, now we've got a 6th toxic creature, I think. With the Annex Sentry, that's got to be the best card in the pack. Yeah, well, Hex Gold Sledger is actually stronger than it. This card's completely busted, but we're not in red, so we'll take Annex Sentry here. Second best card in the pack, and a very, very powerful one. 3 mana, 1/4 artifact creature, which is important for us. Toxic 1, and it's a removal spell when we play it. Very, very good card. Alright, now we'll take a Mirren Bardiche, I think, although it's competing with Malcator's Watcher, and I'm still low on 2 drops. Watcher probably wheels, though. Like, we've been wheeling almost every blue card every time. So I'll take the Bardiche. Alright, so here's our deck. This is 23 non-land cards, just fully a deck. Atmosphere Surgeon is a 2-drop. And I guess we do have a lot of non-creature spells because the Eye of Malcators that are fitting into the creature curve are non-creatures, and the Mirren Bardiche on the curve is a non-creature. Surgeon actually looks kind of legit in here. I'll play that over second Bardiche for now. Get more 2-drops in the deck. Oh, very happy to play a Tamiyo's Immobilizer. This card is nuts. Keep locking down the best creature on your opponent's board. Getting some great attacks in. Yeah, we're happy to take that. Maybe we can even wheel a Chrome Prowler. That would be absurd. Or do have one Kinsmith. Take another Kinsmith. No, I'm just going to take the Mirror Convert. 2 mana artifact creature. It also ramps us into our later game plays early if we need to. And it has Toxic to work with. Complete Devotion or Porcelain Zealot. Fits a lot of roles very well. Third Surgical Skull Bomb. Kemba's Outfitter is actually pretty sweet with Mirren Bardiche. Make it so we can move the equipment around for only 1 mana. Could also take Vanish into Eternity because I'm low on removal, which is Disruption and Charge of the Mites, but it's 6 mana to take out a creature. I'm just going to take the Outfitter. I think it's pretty powerful here. Did wheel a Malcator's Watcher, but it's in a pack with a Bladed Ambassador as well. Mind Splice Apparatus doesn't really do anything. I think I'm going to take the Watcher over the Ambassador at this point. We've already got 1 Ambassador. We've got 3 Eye of Malcator and Cephalopod Sentry. We want to have just a mountain of artifacts. Alright, I can take this Vanish into Eternity. We did wheel the other Malcator's Watcher. And we've very much got a deck. Might even... Oh yeah, there's another Malcator's Watcher I just forgot about. I don't want to take all the Kinsmiths? Wait a second. Wait a second. That's probably dumb. But I like it. I like it. Because I think there's another Kinsmith, right? There's not another Kinsmith. That was too dumb. I should just have 3 Watchers. There is another Kinsmith! Okay. Alright. We're going to get really stupid today. But it's going to be fun. The best build of this deck is probably a hybrid Toxic deck, but since I got the triple Kinsmith here, I kind of want to go just all in 100% on artifacts. Just cut every Toxic card because we've got 11 cards to cut. Just make sure I always have 1,000,000 artifacts on the board. So we like drop the Duelist, the Raptor for sure, Porcelain Zealot definitely attendant here. Complete Devotion gets out of the deck. Just make the coolest version of this deck we can. The Crawling Core aren't great. The Glistener Seer is not an artifact either. Creature counts at 18. We've got to cut some non-creatures, but we've got Eye of Malcator's there. Probably just try to tempo as removal, right? We've got double Skull Bomb, Immobilizer, Yeah, I think I can just use a couple straight removal spells with just the planar disruption and the charge, maybe even just the planar disruption. And then, yeah, just bounce their stuff and tap it down long enough to kill them, hopefully. Kind of like the chorus is better again because they die into an artifact creature. Might not want Tezzeret's Reckoning for card draw because we have a lot of scrying going on in this deck. Kinsmith can just loop into more copies of Kinsmith for card draw. Custodian scries as well. I guess it gives our opponent a scry. The Watchers draw a card when they die. This is definitely not the best build of this deck that we could have made, but it's the funniest. It's the funniest. My only Mere Kinsmith deck that I think I will draft. You gotta do it one time, right? You gotta do it one time, then get killed by 3 Hazardous Blasts and 2 Cinder Slash Ravagers, and then you give up on Mere Kinsmith. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 if we count the Eye of Malkators. Oh, and the Mirror and Bardiche. Cannot be right to cut these 3, but they're just the first ones that come to mind. I guess I don't have enough equipment for Outfitter to be that great, but it's still a 1-mana 2/1. On curve, getting aggressive. I kind of like the idea of Charge the Might spinning out 2 artifact creatures with Cephalopod Sentry. That's kind of all it does. I guess it also does the damaging part. But we don't have anything else that's going to care about getting 2 artifact creatures at instant speed. I guess the Eye of Malkators could get triggered at instant speed, which is cool, but not the greatest. Like, I've got Double Chrome Prowler filling that role, too. Definitely not going to play Reckoning at this point. I think I've got, Skull Bombs cycling, Watchers cycling, and a ton of Scry. Just drop a land. Drop the choruses. And then we'll call that a deck here. Just all in blue-white artifacts. How's the mana looking? 10 blue cards, 8 white. Yeah, tiny bit more blue than white. We'll go for it. Alright, here's a look at the deck we're going to be playing today. We are on a fully all-in blue-white artifact aggro deck today. We're just going to be curving out with primarily Eye of Malkators while we play a ton of other artifacts to make sure that they trigger every single turn. We're going to be playing a lot of tempo ways to keep our opponent's blockers off the board, bouncing them with Skull Bombs, tapping them down with Immobilizers, or playing one of our few removal spells, Disruption or Charge of the Mites, to keep them out of the way. So that is the main win condition, just playing Eye of Malkators, scrying into more artifacts, beating down with 3 mana 4/4s. But we also have the Cephalopod Sentry in the sky. That's going to be a huge, really fast win condition. And we've got Mom herself, Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, being a massive vigilant creature at the top end of the curve. This is also the only deck that I will ever play in this format that's running Mere Kinsmiths, because I wanted to do it at least one time, but if I run into Hazardous Blasts and Cinder Slash Ravagers to clear them all out, I will never draft a Mere Kinsmith again. Alright, so that's the deck we're playing today. Without further ado, let's get into the gameplay and see how it does. Very excited about this goofy one. Here we are on the draw for game 1. We've got Malkator's Watcher on 2, Sentry on 3, Kinsmith on 4. Pretty good curve, we'll probably roll with it. I have a Mere Convert now that I could play, but don't think I want to just roll that out on turn 2. Norn's Fetchling is the first play from our opponent. Now I definitely want to play the Malkator's Watcher first, because we'd be pretty okay with a trade into that. Keeps the toxic off of us. I really don't want to exile the Fetchling under an Annex Sentry, because then if they kill the Sentry and get it back, it's going to be an issue. Well, Cleansing Raptor is an issue, because now we don't get to block and trade. We just give it +1/+1 flying. We are on the way to getting corrupted. Probably just Eye of Malkator and try to race here. Here we get Plains Ambassador. I'll take the Plains. We get the 4th land for the Kinsmith. I don't think I'm going to play Ambassador. I have all these other artifacts to play first. Could also just go Convert plus Disruption this turn. If they play like the 2/4 Menace Toxic or anything like that, we really need to pacify. Skitter Priest is horrific. Very, very powerful alchemy card. Now, when any of their creatures on board or any of the creatures in their hand die, they get replaced with Phyrexian Mites, which means it's going to be just impossible to stop late game Toxic, because even if I trade with everything on board, they'll just have another group full of toxic creatures to play. So Annex Sentry can't exile the Skitter Priest. It could exile the Raptor here if we want, but then they can double block Eye of Malcator, which is not ideal. I think I'm just going to play Convert to activate the Eye, and I am going to disrupt the Skitter Priest here. Save Annex Sentry for something else because it can't hit Skitter Priest anyway. So probably going to hit the Raptor with that eventually. Yeah, this is a really bad curve for us. The only way that it would be worse is if they went Crawling Chorus into Fetchling, into Raptor, into Skitter Priest, but the only thing they missed was the 1-drop from just fully getting a Toxic curve out on us. They've got a second Flensing Raptor too. They're not good. Now we're on Sentry, exile this Raptor, we get to attack in with everybody. Oh wow, yeah, now we're getting proliferated towards Corrupted. 5 poison. Could play Chrome Prowler instead of Annex Sentry, but I'd rather do that at instant speed. Yikes. Alright. This is the exact kind of toxic curve out I have died to 1,000 times before in this format. Not a lot I could do here with any deck I've ever drafted. Yeah, unless I just had some kind of mega bomb. I think most of the decks I've drafted in this format lose this game. They're at 10. Still a tiny chance. But I'm at 7 poison. Yeah, no, there's not. Like, I tap down Raptor with Chrome Prowler. Attack with Eye of Malcator and the Watcher. They go to 5. At least we can say we got close. And then I just die on the crackback. Sure. At least we can say we got close. This is strike 1 against Mere Kinsmith, though. There's 2 issues with this card. One is that there's a lot of things to kill 1 toughness creatures, to wipe the whole board of 1 toughness creatures. The other is that it's pretty inefficient. The idea is that it's going to grind out a lot of card advantage over the course of a long game because you can get 3 cards off of it, but 4 mana for a 3/1 is pretty inefficient at face value. So if you need something that immediately impacts the board, it's not the greatest, and this format is so aggressive that you have a lot of games like this where I'm just not going to play Kinsmith this game until I can't do anything else, because I need to just play more efficient creatures. It doesn't really matter if I'm going to draw 20 copies of Mere Kinsmith off of this. It's not what I need right now. I need immediate impact on the board. So that's why Kinsmith plays so poorly in the format. Again, outside of Mere Kinsmith, pretty much everything else we played was just, you know, premium good blue-white artifact aggro stuff. And this could have been, you know, kind of any 5-drop and we wouldn't have ended up playing it. Yeah, like a Barbiche or something. So, this is just a curve we would have lost with almost any deck. I'm not too unhappy with the deck's performance there. Just a really, really solid curve from our opponent. Going to be the first loss as we head into game 2. Here we are on the play in game 2. We've got Surgeon into Eye of Malcator into Cephalopod Sentry. Feels very strong if I just draw one land in my first 3 draw steps here. And we have the Eye of Malcator to scry into it. Or if I immediately draw a land, I can use the Eye to scry out of a 5th or 6th land. Alright, opponent's going to start with a Rustvine Cultivator, which is going to stop the Surgeon from attacking in, unless I give it self-flying. Armored Scrap Gorger, well, that's pretty horrifying. If they have a Cinder Slash Ravager, we're just going to lose. We've got a lot of 1 toughness stuff they could end up killing throughout this game. They're also, yeah, they're just curving really, really big. If they have any big creatures, it's going to be an uphill battle here. It's an incredible mana ramp start. Cultivator into Scrap Gorger. Okay. I've already got 4 mana. Pick up the Bardiche. I'm kind of okay to pick up Bardiche because I still have other cards to play in the meantime. So I'd probably just rather have more immediately impactful plays. Yeah. Get rid of the Bardiche here. Do I send the Surgeon into the sky? Or just pass? Probably just pass. I don't have any other non-creature spells to play, so probably be better to hold on to that oil counter to buff up. Or to send a higher power creature into the sky. Ichor Plate Golem to buff the Cultivator. That'll buff the Scrap Gorger as well, as soon as they exile a card from a graveyard with it. Poke us for 2 with the Rustvine Cultivator. We draw Elish Norn, and now I wish I put that land on top. Probably on Cephalopod Sentry, aren't we? I guess I could just start playing Kinsmiths and just threaten to trade every time on blocks. They're on green-red. They're not going to have a lot of removal that can do 5 damage. They could have a Rebel Salvo, but most of the removal, Volt Charge is 3 damage, Hexgold Slash would be 2 damage to it. The green removal, they need a bigger creature than they currently have on board. I think I'm just going to play the Cephalopod Sentry first. But I think Kinsmith would actually be reasonable here because it blocks everything they have on board. Right, that is the 6th mana for our opponent if they have a 6-drop because of Cultivator and Scrap Gorger. Looks like they don't. They're just digging for a bigger play, playing a Contagious Vorak here. Okay, can play Malcator's Watcher plus Convert. That'll trigger Eye of Malcator and make Cephalopod Sentry a 4-power attacker in the sky. Which feels great. Use the Atmosphere Surgeon to send the Eye of Malcator into the sky to hit for 8 this turn. This is big stuff. They're going to Hexgold Slash the Convert so that we hit for 1 less point of damage here. We still put them down to 9. Now there are cards in graveyards for the Scrap Gorger to exile, get those oil counters on it, make it bigger with that Ichor Plate Golem. Contagious Vorak coming in hot. We'll just take the 3 damage. Oh, a full squad. Alright, we'll just take it all. Down to 11. Hexgold Sledge. That card is pretty busted. They still have nothing in the sky, but now if they have a Hazardous Blast, we just die. Hit them for 4 this turn. Chrome Prowler could Chrome Prowler tap down Gavalier, then I attack with a 4/4, they're forced into a chump. Could also just Chrome Prowler at instant speed to try to stop lethal. Is it possible to do that? They play Hazardous Blast, move to combat, I tap Gavalier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10? Yeah, that would stop a Hazardous Blast lethal. We'd also have an Eye of Malcator to block with at instant speed. And we still kill them next turn if they can't kill the Cephalopod Sentry. I think we play the Chrome Prowler as a trick here. I guess Scrap Gorger is going to be attacking as a 4-4, but we can still stop lethal because we'll have an Eye of Malcator that can block, I think. Because it won't activate till after the Hazardous Blast, and Chrome Prowler won't hit the board till after the Hazardous Blast, so I think Chrome Prowler and Eye of Malcator will be allowed to block. But I guess we'll find out if they have the Hazardous Blast. They do not have a Hazardous Blast, they're just moving straight to combat. We will Chrome Prowler down the 4-1 trample, I think. Well, they're dead in the sky, and they scoop them up. Alright, 1 and 1. It is very good work done by the Cephalopod Sentry there. I have Malcator also chipping in for some of that earlier damage. Great stuff. Heading into game 3 now. Alright, curve out with Outfitter into Watcher into Malcator. Opponent is on the play, though. Forced into Evolving Adaptive. That is one of the scariest turn 1 plays you can see in the format. Only got 1 equipment in the whole deck, so I think I just play the 2-1 here. Just missed the bonus value there. Another green-red deck here. Best archetype in the format, in my opinion. Cacophony Scamp. Sure. That's a little awkward. If I play a Malcator's Watcher now, then this camp's going to kill Outfitter and Watcher. Just play a Skull Bomb. I think they have Free from Flesh here. What they're trying to do. Like, they would never in a million years will they make that attack without a combat trick. Blazing Crescendo. Would not have saved Adaptive. They probably have 2 combat tricks in here, because again, I don't think they would be offering the Adaptive trade. That is really bad for me, because now Scamp shoots me in the face for 4, still. Yeah, they must just, like, also have Free from Flesh or something to keep in mind. Adaptive is now a 2-2. Take 3 damage here, maybe 4. I think that's a small enough amount of damage I can take a turn off to play Eye of Malcator. Oh my god, yeah. I think I do want to just play Immobilizer next turn. Chimney Rabble. Okay, so I take a lot more damage than expected. And we're down to 7 and probably just dead. Yeah. Not the perfect Evolving Adaptive curve out, but still, just a lot of damage here. The Scamp with the trick was great too. A double Watcher. Trade with the Goblin. Just not where it's at. If I play Immobilizer, I'm just dead. 3, 4, 5. I take 5 on board, and we're pretty sure they have a Free from Flesh in hand. Means I die to that. I don't really have any choices that survive against Free from Flesh. I can bounce Adaptive, but then they hit me for 5 on board again, so if they have a +2/+2 trick, we're dead. That's my only way to maybe survive is just double chump with Malcator's Watcher, which does not put me in a winning position. But I guess a double chump with Watcher gets me in a position where I can play Prowler at instant speed with Eye of Malcator. I have 2 surprise blockers, on a future turn. Yeah, we probably just lost this game to the curve out with Evolving Adaptive, but there's a chance here. that we can get some kind of mileage out of Chrome Prowler Eye of Malcator. Highly unlikely. Because we have to just go chump chump. You know what, I'll just do this and die to their combat trick if it's bigger than Free From Flesh. Okay, they just have a million copies of Blazing Crescendo, I guess. Literally, they Blazing Crescendoed into another Blazing Crescendo. Alright. Aggro curve out on the play, does it again. Phyrexia all will be one, back at it. 1 and 2 as we head into game 4. Alright, here we are on the play. No blue source is pretty bad. I can cycle the Skull Bomb though. If I don't hit the blue source, I am dead in the water, and we've seen how important it is to have something to stop early aggro, so I'm gonna mulligan here. That's completely unkeepable. Alright, I've got my blue source, but this hand is very slow again. Should probably just Prowler into Sentry. My best bet. Alright, starting this game down 2 cards on the play, so we're not even on the draw to make up for it. Gonna be an uphill battle with these mulligans. Eye of Malcator was a pretty good draw here. Sure. Kinsmith is gonna make up for the mulligans because it's gonna draw me more cards. This might be the first game I actually play Kinsmith. That'll probably be the biggest learning point of the draft, is just never draft Kinsmith. Like, this is the one deck that looked more like a Kinsmith deck than anything else I've ever drafted. And we still saw it in 2 other games. We were just never casting it because it was always the least efficient creature in our hand, and it didn't really matter that it was going to draw us a bunch of cards because we just needed to immediately impact the board state, both in a game where our opponent was aggroing us out with Toxic and in a game where we were aggroing our opponent out. Like, in either of those positions, we need to just be pressuring their life total as much as possible by playing the best creatures possible, or we need to be playing the best blockers possible to stop their aggro, which Kinsmith is bad at both of those. It's just another one of these cards that, kind of like Conduit of Worlds, it's like, yeah, it's going to give me a ton of value in a long game, but long games just do not happen often enough. Alright, now we're just going to get destroyed by Shrapnel Slinger, giving red deck's main deck artifact removal. And the fact that we get to loop Kinsmiths into another kind of mirror is very fun. Could matter here. We're not getting beaten down that quickly. Again, this might be the best Kinsmith game we've had. Still, again, an uphill battle. We were on the Mold of 5 into then the Shrapnel Slinger to kill the Cephalopod Sentry was rough. We might be getting some work done with these Kinsmiths. Snap trade. Basilica Shepherd, that is very bad for me. Yeah, Kinsmith just does not block 1/1s like at all. Malcator's Watcher Chrome Prowler is the play instead. Watcher can trade into a 1/1 and draw us a card. Chrome Prowler can trade into Engraver, or we can play it pre-combat to tap down the Shepherd. Disruption the Malcator's Watcher. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage on board. Trying to combat trick me for lethal or something? Maybe. I think I do have to just Prowler the Shepherd and then block a Might or an Engraver with this Chrome Prowler. So they might not be attacking with Engraver because they want to play around a combat trick for lethal or something. I'm saying that they might have a trick to kill our Chrome Prowler if we block a Might. I'm still going to do it here, because we know we can't find lethal in the crackback even if we keep Chrome Prowler around. This isn't necessarily just the chump attack to get a little extra damage in, but it looks like that is what it is. Elishnorn? I get hit by Basilica Shepherd next turn, but that's it. I don't get to hit them with Eye of Malcator if I play Elishnorn this turn. It's pretty bad. 7 life. A mere Kinsmith to block with. Block the Ambassador. Take 3 from Shepherd, 1 from a 1-1. We're attacking with a Chrome Prowler and an Eye. Try to kill them with Eye next turn. If I just play Elishnorn here, they just get to keep hitting me with Shepherd. If they just attack with Shepherd 3 turns in a row, we're just dead. I think we need to try to keep hitting them by playing Mere Kinsmith and attacking with the Eye and the Prowler. I guess I could play Elishnorn and still just attack with Prowler and not the Eye. They'll have an Eye of Malcator attack next turn. I really don't know here. Feels like quite a long shot either way. We got a removal spell, we're dead. Be the same with Kinsmith though. And I can't just like play a creature and not attack here. I guess I could have played Kinsmith attacked with Eye of Malcator and then left behind Prowler and Kinsmith. But I can't just like play Elishnorn and then not attack with Chrome Prowler because I need to try to outrace the Shepherd. Alright, let's see the combat trick for lethal. Plated Onslaught. Okay, we were incredibly dead. Good lord. The second combat trick as well? Yeah, sure, why not? Comes the beats for you. That's some Phyrexia All Will Be One. Well, still had fun today. I think our deck was pretty cool. Enjoyed playing around with it. Got some cool cards to play around with. But obviously that is not an ideal record. But I'm kind of at my wit's end with this format. I don't really care anymore. Just go 0-3 for the rest of the drafts. I'm just going through the motions at this point. Kind of had a bell curve of enjoyment of this format. Of when it started out, I was like a little lower on it than most sets, and then, you know, I started liking it a little more as I was learning all the synergies and the cool things you can do, and then just the more I play of it, the more just grating it gets. It does get pretty boring. Every game just feels the same, of just reckless aggro with some bombs, pretty much. It's just each player has to curve out and keep impacting the board state, and that was the biggest learning point of this draft, but it was something I kind of already knew. I just wanted to play Kinsmith because it was cool and I never did it before, but Kinsmith is the clearest example of this kind of thing. One of the things I really don't like about this format is just constantly having it in hand there. It is a great value play over the course of a long game. It's a really cool tutor to set things up, but we just can't play a long game, period. You can't just be like, okay, I'm going to play Kinsmith to set up for the future, tutor for this other card that's going to be good, or keep tutoring out Kinsmiths to try to get multiple pieces of card advantage off of this, just trade my 3/1s off over and over and over again. Again, as I stated before during that game, we had games where we were winning, where it was like, I need to just keep playing better artifacts on curve that immediately impact the board, like Chrome Prowler, tap a thing down, keep hitting with Sentry, maybe Immobilizer, Eye of Malcator, just keep hitting with as much power as possible to keep that aggressive pressure on our opponent. And then again, on the defensive, opponent has so much really good stuff. We still have like 3 cards left in our hand because it's only turn 5 or 6 or something, and it's like, I need to just immediately impact the board with the best blockers that I possibly can, or the best tap downs that I can. I can't do anything to set up for the late game. There kind of just is no late game in the vast majority. of Phyrexia All Will Be One games. It is the most aggressive format that we have the stats for on Arena. So, yeah, getting pretty tired of the format. A lot of that is from the Arena Open, honestly, because that's the other thing about it. It's either hyper aggro or super bombs, and there's really no in between. Actually, it's often just both. Lost to a lot of Eternal Wanderers. In the Arena Open, we spewed 20,000 gems. I know Newmont spewed 45,000 gems to make the day 2, and I was like, yeah, I can't afford that. Just spew half my gems there. So, very swingy format, very, very aggressive, tons of bombs, and I'm starting to get a little tired of it, but we will keep it up at least till the end of these alchemy drafts. I'll be doing one Phyrexia All Will Be One draft, and then one Crimson Vow draft, then one Phyrexia All Will Be One. But I'm kind of glad that the competitive season for this format is over. The Arena Open's over, the qualifier weekend's over. Hopefully the future Arena Opens are for the upcoming Shadows over Innistrad Remastered, maybe Strixhaven, because they're putting Strixhaven Premier drafts back on Friday, so I'm very excited to get back into variety drafting all of the other formats that they put on Arena. So 1 and 3 today, kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. Not a lot we could do in any of those games. Went for some funner, kind of slower, goofier stuff here, and it did not work out, mainly just the Kinsmiths. I think I drafted decently overall. Again, the one big thing that I did wrong was the Kinsmiths, but taking Cephalopod Sentry is a good sign for blue-white artifacts. Worked out pretty well. We didn't see any Mandible Justiciars, which is kind of insane, because we did get some decent white cards throughout the draft, but I guess white was pretty competitive. So no Justiciars is probably the biggest flaw in our blue-white artifact deck, but the main thing we could have done differently, even after taking all the Kinsmiths, was cut all these mirrors that are just inefficient and play the toxic package in the deck. I think it would have just been a better deck with Crawling Chorus, Complete Devotion, Jawbone Duelist, Raptor, Attendant, Zealot in the white half of the deck. Be a little less just hyper-focused on the artifact stuff, and have the toxic sub-category or sub-strategy as well there. But again, don't think I drafted particularly terribly outside of the stuff that I specifically said I was just doing for fun and wasn't the right thing to do. But I could have built the deck a lot better, just chose to do the cooler thing. And as you are going to be in Phyrexia All Will Be One, we get punished very heavily for it. 1 and 3 in today's draft. But that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more like it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more of these videos in your recommended feeds. If you'd like to hang out with me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon in the link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.